Okay, you guys. So, in your notes, we've already done Louis XIV, remember? And if you missed today, what you missed is some of this English drama that's about to happen. Okay, in class, I can't do all this in one day, but I'm going to try and do it all in one video here. All right, so we'll see. England tries to have absolute rule. Yeah, they can't. Do you remember, this? The Magna Carta. Magna Carta, you remember whole drama there? John Lackland, King John, right? John Lackland in 1215 forced to sign this because he kept passing laws that were like raising taxes because he was going to war with France. You remember all this? Yeah? And his nobles were like, oh, heck no. Well, we're in the 1600s now, right? And the Magna Carta is still basically their constitution. Just think of it that way, all right? One of the big things that the Magna Carta does, it sets up this idea of parliament. Now, there's kind of been a council of nobles in England forever, all right? But what, oh my gosh, my dogs just almost nailed a squirrel. I hope they don't catch it. I don't really know what to do if they catch it. Okay, anyway, Parliament. So Parliament, if you remember, is this governing body, like a lawmaking body, like kind of like our Congress. Yeah? But remember the catch. If the king wants to get a law passed, Parliament has to okay it. If Parliament wants to get a law passed, they can do it without the king's approval. That means who has the power in England? The king? Parliament does. England can not be absolute because an absolute ruler does whatever he or she wants, whenever he or she wants. They have total control and they don't have another governing body working with them. That's not possible because the Magna Carta says you have parliament and king. Okay? Do you see why England can't be absolute? But see, this is the period of absolute rule. And these kings want to be absolute, and they're going to try as hard as humanly possible. Well, oh, it's blurry. There we go. Do you remember her? Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I was the queen in the late 1800s. Remember? Queen of England. Elizabeth dies without an heir to the throne. Okay? Well, crap. What do we do? Guys, cousin, brother, nephew, uncle, whatever. Okay? The next person in charge of England is going to be her cousin. There's just a little bit of an issue. He is Scottish. Ugh, God forbid. Okay, listen. Guys, England and Scotland have been the United Kingdoms for a while. I don't know the first time that they took over, but I mean, definitely the Gothic period, 10, 1100s. England went and took over Scotland. Yes, Scotland is really for like 2 seconds, and then England goes right back and takes her over. So they have had two kingdoms, but England's in charge of both. There is a Scottish royalty. They're related to the English royalty, but England kind of has the last word, okay? If what Scotland is doing, England doesn't like, Scotland fixes it, okay? The English really looked down on the Scottish. They were like, gross, okay? That being said, the person who's next in line is James from Scotland. Parliament's like, oh dear God, is there anybody else? Please, God, anybody. No, James is next. This is James the First. That's the Magna Carta. That is James the First. Okay, he has like the family's trademark red hair. Yeah. James the First, there's a fly. James the First is trying really hard to make Parliament like him and accept him. So he goes in very open-minded and he's like, hey guys, we're gonna work together. I promise. Things are cool. It's okay. I'm gonna work with you. This is James. You know this James because in 1611 he commissions the King James Bible to be written. Yeah, you heard of that? You know this James also because in 1607 the first successful colony, Jamestown, it's named for him. Okay, so while the bigger part of the colony is Virginia, named for Queen Elizabeth, Jamestown is named for him. Okay, so you know him, you just don't realize you know him. He is not absolute. He works well with Parliament. Okay, then Charles. Charles the First, his son, takes over. There's Charles. Charles the First, honestly, wasn't a bad king until he started trying to get absolute power. Up until his dying day, he declared that, he didn't do anything wrong. He declared that he had divine right. You're going to read like pieces of his last, his last quote, pieces of his last speech that he said right before he got his head chopped off. And in it, he's like, I was given this power by God, so how can it be wrong? He doesn't say that exactly, but basically, okay? So anyway, King Charles, he is fine. He works okay with Parliament until he doesn't. And what ends up happening is he starts trying to pass laws that Parliament doesn't okay. And he gets ticked off. Parliament starts passing laws that he says can't pass, but they pass anyway because Parliament doesn't need him to pass laws, and he gets ticked off. Okay, this culminates with what we call the English Civil War. Now listen, this is not a civil war like what you think of with America. Okay, look right here. With America, like we split down the middle, quite literally. But you had like a brother fighting brother, right? Bob the peasant probably didn't even know that this was happening. Okay, it wasn't a big thing. I mean, it is because of what happens. Oh my gosh, it's huge. But while it was happening, Bob the peasant didn't know it was happening. It wasn't a huge, massive war. Basically, what happened is, what's his name? Charles I was so frustrated that he couldn't work with Parliament that he dissolves it. That means he says, you guys are fired. Go home. Can he do that? Because the Constitution of England, the Magna Carta, says Parliament and King rule together. So does he have the right to fire members of Parliament? Not even members. Does he have the right to completely get rid of it? Guys, that would be like all of a sudden out of nowhere if the President of the United States said, I don't want a Supreme Court. They are dissolved. There is no third branch of American government. You know what? Let's just make this even more fun. Let's dissolve, what is it? Legislative. The legislative branch too. No Congress. Guys, legally, he can't do that. In all honesty, the president doesn't really have that much physical power. our what is it? Our whatever of checks and balances has made it that way. What's his name? Charles. Charles the First says, "Nope, y'all are fired. Get out." That's illegal. And members of parliament are like, "Yeah, you can't do that." And there's part of the military that's like, "Yeah, you can't do that." And there's some of the middle class or some of the educated nobles in the capital cities that are like, "Yeah, you can't do that." And basically what happens is we have parliament and their supporters fighting the royal family and some of their supporters. There are more supporters for parliament. Guys, what's going to happen in this situation? Nobody wanted. Okay? Nobody at this point was walking around going, "Ha! Kill the king!" Spoiler alert. Nobody's doing that. But that's what's going to end up happening. Basically, this war lasts. It kind of looks like a long time. It's not terrible. Most of the time, Charles runs up north to Scotland, to like his homeland, his family land. So it's kind of hard for the British or the English to get a hold of him because he's in a technically kind of a different place, but whatever. Eventually, he's captured. He's captured by this guy, Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell. Here is an Oliver Cromwell picture. Okay. He was older than that at this time, but because he's only going to be around for like, I'd have to double check the years, but like 5 or 10 at the top. It's not a whole 10 years, but like 5 years. Okay. So Oliver Cromwell. Okay. You see some armor there. So do I need to tell you what he does? I better not. Analyzation of paintings. He is part of the... Did you answer it? Are you waiting for me? Because I ain't answering it. Okay. Oliver Cromwell captures Charles I. Okay. And then everybody sits around and goes, "What do we do? We just captured the king. Is that legal?" Okay. Again, nobody is like, "Ha! Kill the king!" even now. But they do want to do things legally. So they put him on trial for treason. What is treason? Do you remember? Going against your government. How in the crap can a king be found guilty of treason? How in the crap can a king go against his own government? Can he? See, the big question that this whole drama here is going to unfold is this. What is the government? Is the government the king? Or is the government the parliament? Or is the government the military? Look at Cromwell. Is the government the military? Oh, Dad. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. Where'd my arrow go, you guys? There we go. Or is the government the Magna Carta? What is our government in America? Is our government the president? The president is the face of our government. But is he the government? Guys, if our president was the government, then every time, every 4 or 8 years, when we got a new president, there would be massive upheaval and things would change massively. Okay, listen. I hear this every year. Like I'm 42. I'm old enough at this juncture. My hair, this fan. I'm old enough at this point that I've seen enough presidents. Like I haven't seen as many as some people, but I've seen enough presidents change hands. Yeah. There's not massive upheaval when we get a new president. The media wants you to think there is. Society wants you to think there is. There isn't. Presidents don't really have total control. They can't really do that much in 4 years or 8 years. They can't. Squirrel. Aren't I awful? They can't do that much. The president isn't our government, guys. So what is? When we get new congressmen into Congress, does that mean there's massive upheaval? Everything changes? No. Even some of the big deal, like laws that we voted for. Obamacare was a big one. Everybody freaking out about it. Are you going to vote for it or not? It didn't affect me. I mean, I know it affected people. It didn't affect me. So did I experience massive upheaval when that was passed? Or when that was loosened a little bit? No. Because the way we have set up our government, the Congress doesn't have total control either. What about the Supreme Court? Do they have total control? No. They declare whether laws are constitutional or not, but it doesn't rock my world. It doesn't. It doesn't. So what is the government? That's the question that this whole trial is trying to figure out. The King of England, Charles I, is put on trial for treason, and the defense, his defense says, a king cannot be guilty of treason of his own government. The prosecution says, yeah, he can, because the king is not the government. This piece of paper is the government. And this piece of paper says that there is a king and a parliament. And if he dismissed parliament, he committed treason. Those are the two sides. Think for a minute. Ooh, who do you think is right? Now try to put yourself in that time period, in their place. Your king is on trial. Sorry. Your king is on trial, guys. The king. How can you put a divine right king on trial? It's just crazy. All of Europe is freaking out. Louis XIV is king, okay? He's young. I would have to look up dates, but he's young. There is, like, one of the documents that I had to read when I was in college was actually a letter written from him to England about how you can't do this. God chose him to be king. You don't have a say. And it's like, Louis, you're not even English, butt out. But Europe is freaking out. Because think about the implications. See, Louis XIV can do whatever he wants because they don't have a written constitution. In fact, that's one of the issues of the French Revolution. They want a written constitution so that the king can't do whatever he wants. Well, Luckily, the English understood what a big deal this was. And they really took it seriously, and they did it as legally as possible. They followed the book, okay? And he was found guilty of going against the government of England. It is decided that the government is this dumb piece of paper. Guys, that's what it is for us too. If we switch presidents, okay. I may not like the president. Okay. It always amazes me that people throw such a fit over the presidents. They're only here for 4 years or 5 or 8. They don't do that much. They don't have time. What is determined to be the government is not the president or the king. It's the Constitution. Okay, so if that is the government, then did Charles I commit treason against the Magna Carta when he dismissed Parliament? Yes. The big question, like I said, is what is the government? Once it's determined that the Magna Carta is the government of England, done. Treason is easy to understand. It's an easy, decision to come to. What is the punishment for treason? I love this painting. This is a painting of Charles I getting his head chopped off. This painting is like huge. I would have to look it up, but this painting is huge. It's like a whole wall or something. This is a big deal, guys. Europe is freaking out. They have just laid the precedent that it is legal to kill your king if he breaks the law. Guys, our president is not above the law. You may be like, yeah, he is. No, he's not. No, he's not. We have seen presidents impeached very recently. They are put on trial. Now, whether they're found guilty or not, that's up to whoever. But guys, presidents are not above the law. They have to follow the law. Up to this point, the idea of a king following the law was like unheard of. That was crazy. Not anymore. Not anymore. Okay, look. I do want you to see, before we look at the other things, I want you to look at the crowd down here. Okay? The people of England are not like, woohoo, kill the king. The people of England, I mean, look. She's like, oh, looking away. This guy here, it's hard to see, but his hands are behind his head like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? This lady has a fan. Oh, I'm pointing at her with my finger. I'm sorry. Here she is. Oh. This guy. People are freaked out. Look at this guy. Okay. And then we have a little horse person. I know that's weird, whatever. Some people are turning away. Look at this guy. Looks like he's praying. Oh, dear God, forgive us. This guy. Okay. This guy cracks me up. Yes, it's a man. You can tell by his pants and his weird shoes. Look at his shoes. What the heck? And then we have this woman. She just flat out fainted. Oh, we're killing the king. Okay. People are freaked out. Aren't the shoes weird? Anyway, people are freaked out. We're killing the king and we're doing it legally. We hope. The rest of Europe is talking about divine right. Charles I mentioned divine right. What if it's true and we killed his representative? Do you see that people are worried about this? Right here. Now let's go up here first. Again, their shoes crack me up. Okay, so this right here is Charles's body. That's kind of grotesque to show of your king. And this right here is, oops, Charles's head. Yeah. Guys, again, I mean, this is a shocker for the time, just so you can see the whole thing. Executioner. There's his head. They're cleaning up the mess down here. Again, like, it's not like people are running around going, oh, we're killing the king. This is amazing. They're kind of freaking out. Okay, now what? We just killed the king, so what now? Well, the king does have a son. Little Charles II. I would have to look up exactly how old he is. I don't remember. But he's a kid, okay? He needs a regent. Yeah. So Parliament is sitting there talking about, oh, who's going to be the regent, right? And then out of nowhere, I've told you before, you have to be so careful, who your generals are. Because Oliver Cromwell comes in and says, no. Charles II is not going to be king. We just killed his dad. He's not going to work with us. Charles II takes power. Isn't that a dictator? Yes. Oliver Cromwell is going to create, and again, I don't remember exactly how long it is. It's not that long. Let me double check how long. It's like, I don't remember, you guys. How long was Oliver Cromwell? See, this says king. Political and military leader, 5 years. Damn good. 5 years, okay? He gets sick and dies. Yeah, he takes over, okay, with his military. Y'all, he doesn't reinstate Parliament either. He's not a king, so he doesn't reinstate Parliament. Legal? Legal? He just took over the government with the dictatorship. Legal? Because see, this thing right here says the government of England has a king and a parliament. Two-branch system. Nowhere in the Magna Carta does it say, oh, we're going to set up a military dictatorship. So is Oliver Cromwell committing treason? Well, if you want to get real specific, yeah. Yeah. But he has control of the military. Dang it. Guys, if your military leader has control and he says this is what we're doing, oh, and if you don't like it, the military behind me will kill you, you do what he says. We're going to see Napoleon Bonaparte do the same thing. You better be careful, who your military is. Oh, who your military commander is. Okie dokie. Okay. After Oliver Cromwell dies, we go into a period of English history called the Restoration. And I just don't think I'm going to do this whole thing in one video. So we'll deal with that next. Bye, guys.